Hi everybody, Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts here. Getting my text set up, so give me 1 second. I am just making sure that I am live in the right place. Okay. Yep, okay. Making sure I can see myself. Hey Tarina. Okay, and I can see comments. And I'm doing this live for the first time with StreamYard so that I can have 2 screens. You can see me and you can also see what I'm doing a little better. But doing all that for the first time always has me like, ah. Okay, so anyway, hi, good afternoon. It's noon for me. And we just finished watching Amy do an absolutely adorable pumpkin. So I'm definitely going to be craft napping that idea, and I am very excited about my project. But we have a great lineup for you still today. Hey Jennifer, there's like 8 creators coming after me, and we've already had 2 this morning, so it's a very full day. I hope you've been on. I hope you are able to keep watching and see all the stuff that everybody's doing. It's going to be a super exciting day, and it'll all be available on replay if you can't see everybody, or if you're not able to be with us live today. So I'm going to be using, let me make sure I turn to this camera here, this mason jar cotton transfer that is coming out on the 9th with the autumn collection, and the 5x12 outside the box frame. So I already took it out and painted it earlier just so this would have time to get nice and dry. But I'm going to put it back in here real quick so y'all can see. If you are not familiar with these frames, they came out early this year, late last year. I don't remember. It's a newer surface, but the inner piece pops out. It's double-sided, so this makes it super easy to paint and chalk on, because then you're not worried about like the edges or anything. But it also means you can buy multiple inserts. There's also the black and white chalk Couture boutique insert that goes in there. So you can buy one frame and have like 4 different things that you can use it for, which I love. We're going to set this aside. Don't need that right now. And we're going to get started. So I've already cut everything on my transfer just so you all don't have to watch me struggle through that, since I leave my transfers on the backing sheet and don't cut the backing sheet. That's a better situation on the back end, but on the front end it gets a little clunky. And if you've seen me live before, or if you've watched any of my YouTube videos, you've seen me try to manage to do that. And I had time today, hey Melanie, to cut it early, so I went ahead and did that. So this is a brand new transfer, and I am chalking on acrylic paint, which I don't want to wax, because the wax will kind of dulls the color a little bit. Not bad, but I just prefer how it looks without it. So I'm going to fuzz the heck out of this with my fuzzing cloth to get it as unsticky as possible. Now, the last couple of times I've done this and not waxed, the surface has been very generous and very kind to me, and I haven't had any problems. So we are hoping that that's going to be the case today. So we're going to do this. This is going to be a design with multiple layers. And then we're also going to be using a little bit of the Dixie Belle Sea Spray, which if you were watching Dory Jo first thing this morning, you heard a little bit about. And like Dory Jo, I decided to use that texture, what do they call it? Texture additive today without like ever using it before. And Like, you know, why do I decide when I'm going live that that's the time that I want to do something I've never done before? And, you know, hey. So we're going to be using a little bit of that as well. Okay, so I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to put this off the edge of, give myself a little bit of something for this to stick to, off the edge of the surface, because I'm going to put the jar off to the side, because at the bottom we're going to put some of these loose ones, so I want to make sure I have room for that. And I got something, that stuff stuck to the back of my transfer, but none of it looks like it's in my negative space, so I should be okay. And then I have not been able to make up my mind today about colors. And I'm sitting here changing my mind as we speak. Yeah, okay. So this is a color called Espresso. It just came out as well. And so give me a second, because it's a brand new jar, has not been opened. Do this kind of carefully. Highly recommend when you open a jar that you do it kind of slow. Sometimes they burp, and when they burp, they can get paste everywhere. And not that it's not messy anyway, but that just makes it even messier. And of course, I just got paste all over my fingers. So let's try to get all that off. Trying to be careful. I find sometimes the more careful I try to be, the worse I actually, the more of a mess I actually end up making. So I'm going to get a stir stick. So this is a really nice, deep, dark brown. So this will look really good for the stems on these cotton stalks. Hi, Patty. we're keeping Patty company while she paints a closet. Hey, Denise. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you being here. So we're going to do a bit of paste and peel, and I'm going to have to use some different size squeegees because we've got some really narrow spaces to get in there with the paste. I'm testing all of my skills today. Probably should use this too. And I'm going to turn this around so this side is closer to me for now. I hope everybody's doing okay today. The heat finally broke here in central Illinois. And so it's been quite a bit cooler, which has been nice. Very humid because there's been a lot of rain coming through. But I can live with that, with the cooler temperatures. Am I doing this right? Okay, I'm sitting here doing this and then thinking, wait, am I doing this right? I guess we'll find out, won't we? So it's kind of a intricate design here. We're going to do a little bit of this. And then, hold on, give me 1 second. I pulled this up earlier. This is hilarious. I'm not trusting myself here. I pulled this up earlier. So I was like, okay, I know what a cotton stalk looks like. Yeah. Okay. I'm fine. It's all right. Momentary. I don't know. Momentary something or other. Um, but I'm feeling like, well, I know what I'm going to do anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay. So yeah, so it's been cooler, been a little bit of rain. I was watching Amy earlier. Somebody was talking about it being 109 degrees where they were. So I like summer for the longer days, brighter days, you know, more sunshine and all of that. But I am not a hot weather person by any stretch of the imagination. Although people always ask me, because my husband and I have every intention of retiring to Florida or somewhere warm. His goal is to be able to wear shorts all year round. So maybe Georgia, but people ask me, like, how are you going to do that when you don't like hot? I'm like, well, because we'll have a pool. If we were going to stay in the house that we were in right now, there would be a pool in our house already. But we're not staying here, so really kind of not worth the financial investment. And plus, I tell my husband, you think I don't get anything done sometimes now? Yeah. If that we had a pool, that would be all I would be doing all weekend. So there wouldn't be any like getting laundry done, getting errands run, anything like that. Wake up on a Saturday morning and I'd be out in the pool already. So someday when we're retired and we have less obligation and responsibility, then that will be the appropriate lifestyle. Okay. So I'm trying to go kind of quickly here just so my paste doesn't dry. But we'll lift here in a minute. And also because I know I only have an hour. And like I said, there's kind of some layering involved with this project. So this is part of the autumn release. It's kind of weird. It's July. I mean, not weird. I mean, it's appropriate for crafters, but it's a little crazy, I guess, that we're, you know, thinking about autumn already. Like, I don't understand how it's July 1st on Monday. I'm not completely ready for that. Definitely not ready for 4th of July. We have two very noise phobic dogs. One that it's kind of extreme. And so 4th of July is not exactly a happy holiday in my home, unfortunately. So we'll be hunkered down in the basement with the TV up real loud and medicated dogs. And then I am leaving town on July 10th and will not be back until the 22nd. So it is going to be a pretty crazy month for me. And I can't believe it's here already. If you were unable to catch Amy this morning, or Dory Joe this morning, our very first talker, Amy just went before me and did this just absolutely adorable little pumpkin. But Dory Joe did a really, really neat flag on a like old rustic palette board kind of surface. It was very cool. So if you were not able to check that out live, I recommend watching that replay. Amy's project as well, that pumpkin was just absolutely adorable. So lots of ideas spinning in my head for Halloween. I'm doing a show early in October. So obviously starting already to think about that. And well, I have a show in September too. Thinking about that, thinking about Christmas, It's July. And so there are some really super cute transfers that are coming out in this release, as well as a couple of neat new surfaces and glow in the dark ink. So that is going to be super fun for t-shirts and pillows and trick-or-treat bags. It's going to be really fun. We have glow-in-the-dark paste last year, and that was a lot of fun to work with. So the ink is going to be really great. And I think I just messed up that little piece. No, maybe not. Okay. Turn this around. So I'm almost done with these like more intricate parts where I can start to do the stem with a larger squeegee, and that'll move a little faster. And so what I'm going to end up doing for the cotton itself, I'm going to wash the transfer, sort of wipe it off with a wipe, let it dry, and then we'll do the jar. And then I will come back and I will chalk a little bit of the edges of the cotton with some white. I get my white? Yeah, some white and some dune. But then what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to end up taking the salt spray and some white paste or paint, I haven't decided yet. I'm getting a little crooked here, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to use that salt spray to create some texture and some depth on this to where it might, hoping that when I'm done, it looks like there's actual cotton. Okay, so now I can transition to this larger squeegee because we're out of that sort of more intricate area. Oh, I missed one spot. Spoke too soon. There. This one little piece right here. And this one little piece actually right here. Okay. I think that's good. Next, I'm going to peel this up nice and slow, so hopefully it doesn't bring any of my blue paint up with me. Oh yeah, that was very kind to me. So I'm going to set that off to the side, and I'm going to show you, let's see, I'm going to set this sticky side up on a paper towel, and I'm going to show you a quick way to clean a transfer if you don't have water and you kind of need to reuse it quickly. It's a little messy. It's not perfect, but it works. So you want to use a Clorox wipe of some sort. Do not use baby wipe on transfer. There's too many fibers in that. It'll stick. So these Clorox wipes will work. And you're just gonna clean your transfer. Now this one is kind of dried because I was doing paste and pull. So I might actually have to throw this in some water or spray it. It's also hard to tell because I can't tell what's still just on the front of it that's not coming up. Oh, thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, it was funny. I didn't decide to paint that surface until this morning. So the regular color of that is just white, you know, the white wood grain. And I was looking at it this morning. I'm like, I don't want that to be white. I want that to be like a, you know, a bluish gray or kind of a dusky blue. And so I was like, let's see if I can come up with that color. So just took a little bit of, I have some baby blue kind of acrylic paint and some white, or actually mixed it with black, just a little bit of black. So I wiped this off enough to get some of the wet paste off of it. And because I'm not chalking over where the brown is again, I'm chalking in different places. I'm not going to worry too much about getting the rest of that up. I am a little worried about it drying and not coming out, but I'm going to move pretty quickly. This should actually be pretty dry. I'm going to take this to it real quick. Well, not the one, but one of the really beautiful things about chalk paste is it dries really fast. And while that can be challenging at some moments, in this particular instance, it's going to work in my favor. So we're going to line this back up. Maybe. Let's see. Let me just find just a starting off point. I think that might be a little low. Oh no, I think that's right. There we go. Okay. Okay. I think that's about right. Again, because I'm really going to be filling in the cotton with the sea salt mixture, I don't necessarily have to have this in the exact right space. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect either. So that's the beauty of it all. Oh, my poor dune. My poor dune is very dry. So if you have paste that has dried out, you can use distilled water to reactivate it. I wonder, almost feels like I left this jar open. I mean, it was closed this time, but well, we are going to have to add that to my cart. And of course, today I was wishing I would have ordered the vanilla. So we were in designer preview last week for the new release, and they have come out with a color called Vanilla, which is really pretty. It's in between white and dune, you know, on the color spectrum. And in my head, I was like, oh, I ordered that. And so I was like, oh, we'll use that with the, you know, with the white for the cotton. And I opened my box and it wasn't in there. And I was like, what? And I looked at my packing slip and my order receipt. And I was like, oh, I didn't order that. Apparently that's still in my wish list. So I'm gonna have to make sure I order that soon. Like probably today. Okay. So when you're thinning out paste, you want to spray a little bit at a time, stir it up, spray a little bit at a time, stir it up. You don't want to get too much water in your jar itself. Otherwise, you might thin it out too much. This is almost there. Now, if you're wanting to paint with it, then what I recommend is getting some out of the jar in a drip tray or, you know, a painter's palette, and then getting it wet, because you do actually want this pretty thin if you're going to paint with it. I prefer it pretty thin, I guess I should say. All right, so it's still a little thick, but I'm also not going to use a whole lot of it, so it should be okay. All right, I'm going to turn this around again so that these edges are closer to me, and I'm going to alternate between dune and white. So we're going to use a little bit of dune in some places, a little bit of white in some places, so that I just have some depths of color. And I'm going to lift as I go, especially because this is kind of dry. If I let it sit for too long, then it's really going to lift. In there. A little bit in here. These designs with these little bitty teeny tiny areas, trying to do different colors, take some practice. You know, 6 months ago or so, I definitely not have been comfortable doing this on a live. I would have tried it as I was, hi Karen, I would have tried it, you know, on my own, but definitely not on a live. And now I feel like I have a bit more practice with it, and B, I'm kind of more in a, you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I feel like there's some value in people seeing the mistakes as much as seeing a perfect finished product. All right, so now we're going to go over this white. So I know that I won't be able to completely show you the salt spray from start to finish, just because that does need to dry before you completely finish it out, which the last step is sanding it, because you use the salt spray mixed in with one color, you apply it, and then you let it dry, and then you go over it again with a different color, and then you sand it. And when you sand it, that original color comes through in the texture. And I did a little bit of a practice run with it this morning, and even using my heat tool, it did not dry enough for it to look how I wanted when I sanded it. So we will get as far as getting the first coat of paints with the additive mixed in on. And that's actually going to be really mostly what I wanted you to see anyway, because it's just kind of the how to use it and how it creates texture. And to be perfectly honest, I may end up deciding I don't need to either go over it with the second color, or that I don't even need to sand it, because this being what it is, it's kind of okay with me if everything looks like, you know, if one piece looks like it's all one color and one piece looks like it's all another color, it's fine. But we'll see. Make sure I don't miss these little pieces. They're kind of hard to see as I've added other colors. Make sure I get where I kind of went off the edge here. All right, I think that's everything for that. If you're ever having a hard time getting a transfer up off of a surface, you can kind of rock it back and forth, and that'll help it lift. Okay, I'm gonna drop this over here. So I keep a water bath next to me when I'm working. We don't have a sink in our basement, and that way I don't have to step away from the live and run upstairs to wash stuff. And it lets me keep going, and it gets the transfers in water. Okay, so that's where we are so far. And now we're going to add the jar, and I am going to, if I can find it, I am going to put a little bit of wax just along here on these stems, because when I put the transfer down on, well, actually I'm going to cover all the stems. When I put the transfer down, I don't want that to lift up any of this brown, if I can help it. Now again, it's got a nice distressed look. Some of the brown comes up, probably wouldn't really even be able to notice it. But if I can keep it from happening, I'm going to. And yes, I'm putting the wax on with my finger. That's something I've kind of started to do recently when I don't have a large area to wax, because it helps me know where I have the surface wax. Hi, Monique. But I do need a wipe to clean off my fingers. I'm gonna do it on time. Okay, good. I'm doing good. All right. Wipe my fingers off. All right. So we are going to switch places and fuzz this. So next up after me is Chocolicious. Wait, is that right? I looked at this thing 3 times just to be sure. Yes, Chocolicious. And then Chalk and Create with Denise, and Create and Copy with Kim, and then MC Creations. And then there's like 3 other crafters after that. So again, like I said, we have a full lineup for you today. All will be available for replay on the DIY Arts and Crafts room. So if you miss somebody, you definitely have an opportunity to go back and watch. But if you are able to hang out with us live today, everybody'd love to have you. Get this good and defuzzed. I love these little mason jar transfers. They're so cute. so many different things you can do with it. But, so we are going to put this down. Try to make sure I don't have any bubbles. Now, I am going to use Graige, which is this nice, not beige, you know, the gray version of beige. And I'm hoping, my fear is that it's not going to show up really well on this blue surface. But I didn't want to use black because that's just not the sort of overall look that I was going for. So we'll see. And I'm going to use my squeegee of the year. Very excited. So I got this a few weeks ago because May was my 1-year anniversary with chalk, and you get a special squeegee when you hit your anniversary. So that was exciting. So this is my first time actually using this. It's a little big for this particular design because I have some detail here at the edging. I want to make sure I don't chalk outside of the transfer, which I almost just did. And I want to make sure I get all this detail at the bottom of the jar really good. But I wanted to use this today. A little too much paste on there. That is definitely a something that comes with practice as well. It's figuring out how much paste you need on your squeegee and for what, because it's kind of different depending on the transfer and how intricate the design is, and depending on what you're chalking on. You know, some surfaces need a little more effort. And I'm not sure how much of my background noise you all can hear, but just as an explanation, if you can, my husband is in the other room watching Sons of Anarchy. So you hear things in the background and you're like, what in the world is going on in her house? That is what is going on in my house. But I have the noise suppression turned on and all of that. So I'm hoping that you all can't hear the background noise, but I can hear it and it's making me laugh. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to hold this down. Lift up nice and slow. Oh, and that's going to show up really, really well. Oh, yay. Oh, I'm so happy. That is exactly the look I was going for. That's so fun. Okay. So that's where we are right now. So, you know, I really wanted that jar to just kind of be there, not a focal point or anything like that. And I just got paste all over the outside of this. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, so I am going to, this transfer has these little, just wrong way, loose pieces that I'm going to, thank you, Angela, that I'm going to add to the bottom here in like a little clump. But I'm mindful that I only have about 20 minutes and I want to make sure that I can show you the sea spray. So we're going to do that first. And I'm going to use some acrylic paint for that. And let's see. Did I already use the, yep. I already used the paint brushes that I wanted to use. That's too small. I was working on stuff while I was watching everybody earlier, and apparently I already used the paintbrush that I wanted to use for this. Here we go, this one will work. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your paint or your chalk paste, whatever medium, excuse me, whatever medium you want for that. Got a little bit of gold in there. Hopefully it won't mess me up. Now the directions for this say 2 tablespoons to 8 ounces of paint, which is like this whole entire bottle. So we're definitely not going to do that. What I did earlier was I just took my little stir stick and got a little bit out, added it in, mixed it up. And the directions say you want a peanut butter like consistency. So I just mixed, added more in, and mixed and added more in until I kind of felt like I had the consistency that I wanted. I'm not sure that this drip tray is necessarily the best thing. I feel like maybe a very small bowl might have been better to mix this in, just because the drip tray lets it spread out more. And then you end up, you know, having to work to mix your paint back in. But it's what I had handy, so it will do the trick. So that's getting thick. The other thing that I haven't quite figured out yet is how much of this does it actually take to do what I want it to do here. So again, I'm going to turn this towards me. And what we're going to do is I'm going to fill in this little area right here. And per the directions, what does it say? It says you dab and smooth your paint to form crests and peaks. So I'm going to dab and smooth. Try to stay inside, you know, where I've chalked. A little bit more. And this is one of those things where, because I think it kind of works the same as salt wash, if you've ever used salt wash. You know, the more you add, the more texture you get. And so if you want a lot of texture, you know, you're gonna layer quite a bit of it. If you only want a little, then, you know, that's where you go with it. So I've got this kind of first layer in, and I'm gonna go back and add a little more. Kind of, you know, dab it around, smooth it out a little bit, dab it around, kind of figure out where I want the texture to be. Kind of, it, you know, globs up on the paintbrush too, so you gotta kind of do that. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this up. So I don't know how much you can tell. See if I can turn it in the right light, but how you can tell in that there's some texture there. You know, that's not flat. And so I think as that dries, it's going to look even more texturized. And then I'm gonna go down here and just keep doing this, you know, all throughout where I want this to be. Now I haven't decided. I was debating painting some of these in with just the paint and not the sea spray, not really putting any texture in there, so that again you had kind of a different look throughout. And I might still do that, but I'm gonna do this one, and then I'm gonna get another brush and we're gonna mix some of this up with the dune. add this in. Get it off my paintbrush here. There we go. You know, trying to stay in the lines a little bit. I'm going to imagining based on this that, you know, periodically you might need to wipe your paintbrush off just to get some of that off of there so that it'll actually, because you know it sticks to the paintbrush and then won't actually like apply to your, adhere to your surface. Okay, so that's the second one, right? So then what I'm gonna do, just gonna wipe that off for a second because when I'm done with my live, I will finish working on this. Oops. We're gonna get some of this dune out. Put it in my drip tray. Now this is gonna be a little tricky because this is kind of dry. So I'm gonna spray that a little. So mixing this might be a little dicey. It is definitely a learning process. So one of the new items that we have as well, in addition to this Dixie Belle Sea Spray, is a Dixie Belle Crackle. And I was trying to work with that on Thursday, and I was just having the hardest time. And fortunately, our lovely Tarina went live and did a little video, which, by the way, you should check that out on her page because the projects she did were super cute, and kind of showed me, us, anybody who had questions how to use it. I was able to go back and redo what I was trying to work on and kind of get it right. So I was kind of excited about that. So I'm going to use this teeny tiny thin little brush because I'm just going to do this section right here. Okay, got about 10 minutes. Fill that in. I went out of my line a little bit there. That's okay. And as these other ones that I did are drying, those peaks are firming up and they're much easier to see. And then again, what you're supposed to do is let this dry, paint over it with a different color, and then kind of start to sand it out a little bit so that the original color comes through as the texture. But depending on what this all looks like as it starts to dry, I might just leave it alone. Okay, so, oh, I always go the wrong way. So then I got that one right there. So these are just going to be continued alternating, a little bit of dune, a little bit of white. And like I said, I might just paint some of the pieces flat without any of the texture. Again, so it's got even more added dimension. But I do want to get these little pieces on here before I go. And so my jar is dry, so I don't necessarily have to worry too much about laying this down on top of the jar. Sorry, I'm thinking. I feel like I want to do this a little bit different. So I think what I'm going to do on these is, you know, just further complicating things, further making it complicated, is I am going to chalk each of these entirely in one color, either white or dune. And then I'm going to let them dry, wash the transfer, lay it back down, and then chalk over where sort of like the stem and the, I don't know if it's called a husk, the husk piece on the cotton, just chalk over that in the espresso, so that in these pieces we've got the actual cotton itself really clearly defined. I didn't fuzz that. As I'm lifting that up, I'm realizing I did not fuzz that before I put it down, so I got lucky on that one, because that could have very much lifted a lot of my paint there. I'll try this one real quick. And I think instead of clumping them all this way, I'm going to go along the bottom. So this way. Make sure I fuzz this one. Don't want to press my luck here. And I think I might do this one on top of the jar so it gives it some dimension there. Go. So if you were watching Amy earlier, you saw her do some layering with her transfer, and she mentioned that's one of the things she loves about these, and same for me. You know, I love being able to do something in one color, wash the transfer, dry it, lay it back down, and you can go over something in a different color. You know, you can go over just a part of something in a different color. And, you know, you can really just do a lot with the layering to give your design a lot of depth and dimension. And I'm going to actually dry this real quick. also just had a thought. Really hoping that now that I've added some depth to these up here, that I'm able to slide it back down into the opening on this frame. So I might have to let those dry and test it, and then what I might do is leave it in the frame as I finish the rest of these out, just so I don't run into a situation where I have made this too thick and it won't actually go back in the frame like it's supposed to. All the things we don't always think about until we're in the middle of a project. I am, let's see, yep, I have 4 minutes at that time. Because I like my shimmers, I am actually going to do this one last one at the bottom. I don't want to do the dune because I'm afraid that will blend in too much with the grayish on the jar. So I am going to go over this one. In Shimmer Frost, because you know what? Shimmers are not just for Christmas or the holidays. Like, I do a lot of t-shirts, and invariably I will always opt for glitter heat transfer vinyl or a shimmer ink. So you just have that little bitty pop of shimmer there, just to give her a little sparkle. So there is that. So I have about, looks like I have about maybe 2 minutes. The other thing that I can do, I hadn't really thought about this, but just to show you what it looks like if I decided to go that route, is on the transfer, it has the Latin name for the cotton. And so what I could do here that would look really nice is I could put that on the transfer, like right here. You want to make sure you go a little bit in from the edge because you want to leave some room for that frame. Nope, you know what? I didn't fuzz that. I'm going to end up like pushing my luck here. I'm going to fuzz this real quick, and I think I am going to go ahead and put this on here because I think it'll look really neat. And I'm going to actually do that in that Shimmer Frost again too. Just to add a little bit of something in this space right here. And of course I already put the squeegee in the water. Grab another one. About 45 seconds. Ooh, I'm actually a little bit over. I'm going to do this real quick. Do this real quick, Wendy, and then I will be done. And then I will finish out this texturizing on these cotton pieces. And I will post the pictures when it's finished. There we go. Oh yeah, I like that. Definitely a nice ad there. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to refresh on the DIY Arts and Crafts room and check everybody else out. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.